What up, guys? I'm sitting here with my 69 F250 camper special, and I am about to install a B&M mega shifter light truck series. And it comes with, of course, the shifter, ratchet shifter, the bezel for 4-speed and 3-speed, the adjustable brackets that sit on the floor. So you're going to mount this to the floor, and whatever height you want, you can raise it or you can lower it. And of course you would have to trim the box to accommodate it. We have the different brackets that go onto the transmission shifter, the cable bracket mount, shifter handle, and the cable. Pretty easy installation, I think. See, there's the base, how it mounts. It's adjustable. First you assemble the base, of course, and then you put it on the floor and see where you want it, and then you just mount the shifter. And then the only hole that you got to drill in the floor is for the four mounting holes right here for the base, and then one for the cable, which I really like that. I have a C6, there's C4 and C5. Here's how you loop it around. They want you to loop the cable. Here's a lot of the GMs here. Let's see how this goes. Take you along with it. Step was to go over all the components. The second step was to install, put together the base, assemble the base. That's what I did. You can see in the picture, you got the base set up. You got the 3 holes in the front, the 2 in the rear. And then these locking holes, once you get into position where you want it, you're probably going to drill a hole in there, and you're going to put a bolt so it doesn't, there's no way it can go down on you. So here it is, and assembled. You're going to mount it on the floor, and you see how it could go up and down. It could go all the way down here, way down, and you can see how low this thing will go down. I got it all the way down there, see? So the ratchet shifter is going to sit on top of it like this. You see? So see, that's at the lowest position right there. And you know, you see the slot, how much higher it could go. Well, that's just all determining on cutting that box down. So right now I'm thinking the highest point is going to be perfect for me. I don't want to reach for first, second, and third, but I want to have the comfort of shifting first, second, third without even shifting my position, driving position. So we'll see when we put it in the truck. So here it is assembled in the way it's supposed to go here. Okay, the next step was I chose to do rivet nuts. I mean, it just makes sense. Just in case you have to move the seat, do something to the carpet, you don't have to get under there and mess with bolts and stuff like that. I seem to be missing my Doyle rivet nut gun, so I had to use this hand squeeze one. So I was able to get those 2 steel rivets nuts in with the hand one, but they did not want to go in on this side, so I used the aluminum rivets. So you know, you can get this at Harbor Freight. That's a cheap one right there. I think this is 1020, 10120, whatever. Pretty common. It says it in there. But also they say to drill a 1.5 inch hole. Now I had some problems at first because my drill was a little bit at an angle hitting this air conditioner vent, but eventually it did go in. This drill bit only goes up to 1 3/8. They want you to have a 1.5 inch hole. It sounds kind of big for right here. Really, it's just for the cable to go through. So I don't know if they want that size for the play of the cable to ease the bends of the cable. But you got to be careful when you drill it. The instructions say to measure 1 inch inboard of this rivet nut or mounting point, wherever you're going to put it, and then go up 2.5 inches if you're at the lowest point, and 3.5 inches if you're at the highest point. So I'm going to be about 3/4 of an inch high. So I put it right in between 3 inches and 3.5 or whatever it was. But you got to be careful that you don't go too far, because if you do, you'll see the hole. But what I'm saying is, you see, if you go too far, focus people, there we go. See, if you go too far, you're going to see that hole. So you got to be careful with that. But the only reason why I think they want that big hole is for the play of the cable. Now, okay, the next step was to bolt it all down temporarily. There is another step that you need to do. They put these, you can see them right there on the edges. See those 3 holes there? They want you to uninstall this thing. Once you get it set at the height that you want it, like it is here, snug it down so it won't move. You need to, best thing to do is to take it out, but one of those 3 holes there is going to be your locking pin. So you're going to have to drill a hole through it. Short bolt and lock washer, and that's to keep it fixed so that during your spirited driving sessions, it doesn't move on you. Okay, so basically the way I did it is that I chose not to cut the box like I was saying, so I just raised it up and then put the box on it. Scratch everything up while I'm doing it. Okay, and you can see the mounting holes for the box. See, right there, see it? So I did give it a little bit because plastic is flexible, you know, and I wanted the box to be tight, not dingling around. So see, it's almost flush there with the thing. And then if you look down in there, let's see if we can find it. See if we can find it, no pun intended. There's the hole, you see. And if I would have went one step more, it would have exposed that hole in the front. That's how I did it. I'm glad I did not go one more step because I would have exposed the hole. But, you know, to safeguard from that, you know, they say to measure from this 1-inch inboard and then go up 2.5 inches if you're at your lowest point on the base, or 3 and something inches, I think 3.5 if you're at your highest point. So I'm almost at the highest point. Well, I got a little bit more. 3 and, yeah, see, there's a little bit there. So I said, I'm probably about 3/4 the way up. So I drilled my hole at 3 inches. Now I probably could have went 2 3/4 and I would have been safe. But if I would have went one size more, you would have seen the hole in the back. So be careful with that thing. And I think that the reason why they want that big hole is because of the cable, so that you will have more, the cable won't be so bent and restricted. So I think I'm fine there. And now what I'm going to do is take it out, put my locking pins in, and then reinstall it and hook up the cable. Okay, we got it all tightened up and installed. Here's the 2 locking bolts. You have to drill a hole through there on both sides, one here and one there. It's all locked down, secure. Let's go take a look and see how it operates. Okay, it's all installed. Let's see how it works now. It kind of throws me off how centered this thing is. I thought it would be way up here, but for some reason it's really close. So I guess it's maybe just the way they designed this one, because I've seen some ratchet shifters where park is like way up here. So anyway, we're in park, so we're gonna pull the T-handle up. There's reverse, neutral, and it locks out and drive. Okay, now it's locked out. You can't do anything. See, no matter how hard you push it, it's not going to go. So then when you want to go down to second, you ratchet it second, ratchet it first. Okay, now we're in first. You're at a stoplight, somebody's wanting to go, you just go, that's second, drive, and then it'll go into neutral. There's neutral, but it won't go into reverse. As you go down to drive again, then you pull up on the T-handle, neutral, reverse, and park, and then it's locked out. Pretty neato. I think if you're going to damage anything on this thing, it's going to be this little tab right here if you force it. This is what locks it out. So you see I'm in park, you pull up on the handle, now you're in reverse, neutral, and then drive. See, now it's locked out in drive. Once again, you want to drop it down. There's second. Drop it down again. First. Okay. Now we're at a stoplight, whatever. Doing a burnout in the box, whatever you're going to do. You're in first, second. Ready to shift from second to third. There we go. Okay. Now the one thing about this thing that I wish it did would locked out and drive, but it will go into neutral. See? And then it locks out in neutral, which is kind of strange. So once you're in there, you can't do anything. And people, they get confused. I hear on the internet, I watch it on YouTube. So what you got to do is go down to drive again, lift up on the handle, then go to park. That's how it works. Okay, we took a short break. Now is going to be time to install the cable. It comes with a 5-foot cable. I took off the 2 bushings, the 2 nuts, the 2 lock washers. Here's one. Where's the other one? It's got to be here somewhere. This is a Ford F-Series truck. It's a 69. And this is where you really notice the offset of the engine. It is a 390. I think in 360, 390s, they offset the engine so it was more to the passenger side. When you stick this cable in, it does not want to go down on the right side this way. It wants to go to the left this way. So I pretty much just stick the cable down, let it touch the ground, and just let it get down to where it wants to be on its own. And then I route it from underneath. Okay, this is kind of an important tip. Once you push it through the hole, you want to straighten the cable out as much as you can. See, it's just pretty much straight. And then you're going to go up there and attach it to the shifter. So this way, if you actually have to turn the cable, it'll turn very easily and freely so that you could hook it up to the shifter. If you have it bent and wrapped around and then you try to connect it up on top, it's going to be more difficult. Okay, I'm underneath at the transmission at this time, and I have the C6 bracket from the second to the last 2 bolts on the left side. And then you got the little thing there. See, it goes on. It was a little close. I'm test fitting the ferrule now because I had to bend that little bracket because it was bent so far inward that ferrule was going to hit. Let me see if I can get back a little bit. Get a view of it. There we go. And then you see the bracket there. You use 2 spacers underneath here. So here's the bracket on the last 2 bolts before the bend. There's a bend right here. Last 2 bolts on the left. This is in the 6 o'clock position. I'm about to bolt it on. I was just checking the ferrule to make sure it's not going to hit the pan. And like I said, I had to bend this outward because it was in, you know, and it was going to hit. But I think that's going to work. I don't think anything's going to hit. So we're going to bolt it on. Okay, it kind of seemed like the back of this bracket wanted to go into that little groove, if you can see it there. So what I did is I spread it out a little bit more so it would go back there, and then I tightened it up. Now I got plenty of ferrule distance. And it moves. It's not going to come off or anything. See? It's on there pretty damn good. Okay. But it seemed like there's a little groove here. And this was a little closer, but to get it on there without it slipping off to the back was a little bit difficult. So I just spread it out so the back goes around that groove. And it's plenty. It's not gonna, you know, it's indent moving anyway. So, you know, see, it's not gonna, it's gonna be all right. But it fits a lot better like that. It's pretty dang tight, so I don't think it's gonna slip. Okay, this is day 2, best view here, but as you can see, on my linkage, which is a C6, it had this bracket here. Let me get it. And it was like this, up. That's some hard metal. They used very hard metal here. Now the thing is that the way that they say to install this, you want the same range of motion going from low all the way to park. So for example, you want to mount their bracket in the neutral position, okay? And in order to do that, this was in the way. So I had to cut it off with the Sawzall, and it was not an easy job in here. And put a lot of, this thing was already wiggly already, but okay, see, because their bracket, this is the one for the Ford C6. It goes on like this, you see. Okay, can you see that? Let me get it up in there more. Okay, right there. You see, so in order to, it's critical to your cable adjustment to have this in the right place. If it's too far over right here, you're never going to get the cable adjusted. And what was happening was, I was trying to make it go this way, and I was hitting that bracket. You see the bottom where I cut it off? It was hitting it. The way that they say to mount it is, you want to have the same range of motion in the middle. So say if this is neutral, you want to go to reverse, and then you want to go to park. And then if this is neutral, you want to go second, you want to go drive, second, and low. So you want to have the same range of motion to park and to low, or first. And that just was not going to happen with that bracket on there. What I used was a Sawzall, and man, did it shake this thing. So the difficulty level just went up, but I had everything installed and I couldn't get the cable adjusted right. It went to low, but then when you put it all the way into park, the cable was like over here, or it was way up over here past it. And I'm like, well, I can't go because I'm hitting this bracket. So problem solved, I had to cut it off. Okay, there we have the cable coming out from the bottom of the floor. It loops around to the right side of the transmission, comes out over the top of the gear bender right there, down over the top, and then it goes right in there, straight shot down in there. See, no sharp bends, no kinks. Okay, here's a shot of the cable connected. You can see the dots that I put on the pan, and the way that I did it the first time is I did it without the cable even connected to the bracket there, and I just marked the cable movement from the low position, which is the first dot, to the park position, which is the spot that it's in right now, so I can know exactly what the travel was for the cable. And then I put the bracket on, and I bolted that bracket on accordingly to how the cable traveled. So I actually had better luck in neutral. I know that they tell you to start in first or low, and what you do is you put that ferrule in there, and you want a nice fit. Let me see if I can get this without this flashlight here. There we go. Okay, see, so they want a loose fit. So you see how this is right here? It goes in and out, and it moves up and down. It's not being forced at all. It's in the park position right now. So this one is kind of shot out of sequence. I wanted to include this because this is one of the most important things, is the cable adjustment. But you see how it's loose? I've shifted this thing so many times in demonstrations on the video and just messing around with it, and it's still like this in park. So this is the way it's supposed to be in every gear. Now the way that you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to pull the ferrule out every time you shift it up in the cab. You're not supposed to have this cable connected when you're adjusting the cable. So the goal is to match your travel of the cable with this bracket. And the thing about what makes it tricky about the Ford C6 is there's no fixed lock position on this bracket to start from, so you got to figure out where it's supposed to be. So eventually I had to shorten the cable a little bit on the adjustment. I don't know if you can see it. There it is right there. See there? Yeah. See, they have you starting out in the center with this thing. So the nut will be back here, the other one will be up here, and you'll be right in the center. That's where you start your adjustment. And then this thing will be right in the center. Well, you see, I had to make some adjustments on it. It's no longer in the center. It's kind of toward the back. And then, as you've seen, the threads on this one is toward the back as well. So I had to shorten the cable. There we go. Struggling with this flashlight here. So you see, I had to shorten my cable quite a bit. But it did work out. And the way it worked out for me is I didn't have luck with going from low to park, because what was happening is that low would fit but park wouldn't. So what I had to do is it worked out better for me when I went from neutral. And when I found neutral, let me get this light better here. Okay. Yeah, when I found neutral, I put the shifter in neutral, and then I came down here and I put the ferrule in it, and it fit right in it. So I said, okay, so I pulled the ferrule out, went up to the truck, pulled it down into drive, and then sure enough, the cable fit right in. And then I moved this thing down to drive, the bracket, without the cable attached. And then it went right in on drive. And I said, okay, well, if I got drive, I'm probably going to get low. So I took the cable out again, pushed this bracket down to low, went up into the truck, pulled that down to low, and sure enough, it fit right in there again. So once that happened, I knew that I was going to get every gear. But it's just a matter of messing with this bracket to find out where it's supposed to be. But the best thing to do is to mark your dots here and find out where the travel of the cable is. But you see, I've shifted it so many times already, and you see how nice it fits in there. It's like that in every gear, and that's the way it's supposed to be, like that. Okay, I got the two switches for the neutral safety switch and the backup light hooked up, and you can see the indent there. It's in park, so that's the neutral safety switch. When it pushes on this, it turns the switch off. So you see it's up against that little bump. And this one is the reverse light. So it said from 68, 69 up, it did not have the shifter switch on the column, but mine does. So I figured out this thing, and this is a switch, spring loaded. This thing says auto light on it. This thing is so old, made out of metal case. If this was made today, it'd be plastic. Probably would have broke already. Anyway, it's a pretty cool switch. It has two contact points. One is for park, one is for neutral. 4 color-coded wires. So this is basically just a loop into the ignition switch. So you got a hot at the bottom looped back to the ignition switch. So unless this is in a specific position, it will not send signal to your key, so you won't be able to start the truck. So I basically just need to cut these wires, route them underneath the carpet, and hook it up to the shifter. And they're color-coded the same, so you can't get it wrong. Okay, I got this little switch removed. It's a classic auto light switch. And I figured it out that these two red wires is what loops the ignition together. These two black wires, one is a hot from the ignition and the other one goes to the reverse lights. So if you look up here, if you just connect these two together, let me show you. Okay, you connect these two together. Ignition on. The two red ones, one is hot when you start the truck. As you can see right here. See, ignition on, nothing. Turn it on, there it goes. Okay. Okay, that one, go to our switches there. That one should go on the bottom of the bottom switch. And then I need to run a lead wire coming from the top over to that one right here. This one. So you got hot when you start, and then this is going to go to the ignition switch. Okay, unfortunately what was happening when I was testing this out is I'm in the park position. See if you can see this. I would go to start and I got power coming out of the switch, right? Okay, this is the way it's supposed to work. Then you go to reverse. You should have nothing because it's a neutral safety switch, right? It does not want to start in reverse. So see, now I got no power, turning the key on and off. Okay, so I'll go back up to reverse. Got power, right? Okay, now reverse, neutral. Still got power for neutral, right? Go down to drive. Of course, nothing. See, neutral safety switch. Okay, so now we're gonna go neutral, reverse, park. And see, the problem is here when I'm showing you this is see how I got power. When I come out of the switch, that lead is going to the ignition switch, right? But nothing's happening. And I've been sitting here for a while now trying to figure this out. Well, this test light wire is not strong enough to start the frickin' truck. So what I did is I got this big old freaking, I think this is what, 10 gauge wire? Okay. So I put a 10 gauge wire on it. And I'm just going to touch it to the switch. Make sure I don't fry anything. Okay, I'm going to touch it to the switch. And now I'm going to turn the key on. See, there we go. The wire was just not small enough to crank it over, so I knew I was right, but I was getting caught with the with it not functioning properly. Basically, you're just running two leads. The one that lights up when you turn the key on to the bottom of the neutral safety switch, and then you're running the other lead to the other one that goes to the ignition switch. And then it'll only start in park and reverse. And these other two, this one is a hot from the ignition switch. That's going to go to the reverse light on the bottom. And then this one actually goes to the reverse light. So that's how they had it on this switch. Okay, I got all the wires in. They're all labeled. Hopefully it lasts, the labeling. I took off my neutral safety switch and ran the wires under there with wire loom. You can see the wire loom right there. Wire loom all the way up underneath. And the wire loom stops right before the wires come out. Then I put that pipe foam in there for a sealer, see? Just get yourself a set of, I don't know what that is, 1 inch or something. Everybody's got that laying around. Just, it's not the full round circle. I cut it like 3/4 and then squeezed it and it just fit right in there. So that's better than sealer in my opinion. So it's all ready to go. It's all functional. I'm ready to do the final assembly. And we'll see how she goes. Okay, now we are ready for final assembly, which is putting the trusty glove box on, The parking indicator, I got my wires crimped. The boot, and it is done. Notice how I put those marks on the cable? They wanted it to be straight 2 inches out of the cable. So the first mark is 2 inches, the second one is about 3 inches. It's not perfectly straight. See, that's why I kept going back to that. They wanted that big hole, see, so that the cable would actually go forward. The only problem is that if you go big with that hole, you're going to have something to cover, because the cable is going to be showing on the other side of the box. So, I mean, it is pretty straight. I mean, it's not exactly straight. I do have full function of the transmission. I have the loose ferrule in every slot, like they said, although I did have a little bit of complications finding the exact spot for my gear selector, so I had to keep going back and forth, but I did find it using neutral as my starting point instead of low. If you watch their videos on cable adjustment, they talk about starting in first or low, putting the ferrule into the gear selector, having play, loose fit, and then taking it out and then putting the shifter all the way up into park, and then putting it in and having loose play. That didn't work for me. I had to do that with neutral. And once I did it with neutral, I had every gear. Okay guys, there's the finished product. Came out really good. I'm happy with it. It looks good in the truck. The box is really sturdy. The indicator and everything works. We're going to do lift up on the T-handle, go to reverse. You do not lift anymore. You go down to neutral, drive, and it locks out on its own. If you want to go back up to neutral, you lift up on the T-handle, go up to neutral, reverse, and then park. Okay, those are the simple functions, but you go reverse, see if you can see that there, neutral, drive. Once you do the ratcheting action, second, first, okay? You're on the line, you're taking off, first to second, second to third, then no T-handle, up into neutral, you're locked out, see? You can't do anything else. So what you got to do is go down to drive, up on the T-handle, and then walk it up into park. Okay? Okay, I left a little bit of gap there, and I wouldn't have minded to go actually a little bit more. At first, I think it looks just fine with the gap in between the seat, and I probably would have been fine with it right in the middle, actually. The one great thing about this shifter is once you take the box off and all that stuff, you can move the base around, you can do that. Everything's already installed, so you don't really have to do a complete disassembly. But being that this is a mega shifter made for a truck with a bench seat, they bring the shifter down close to you so that you don't have to reach for it. There it is, guys. B&M Mega Shifter Light Truck Series.